And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, May 2nd, 2015. This is Season 9, Episode 18. I'm Scott.
I'm Dennis.
I'm Matt.
I'm RJ.
I'm Nathan.
Welcome to the show. James not with us today, but he might be back next week. We never know. We'll see. I knew he had a thing he had to do today, so I knew he couldn't make this episode, but hopefully he'll be with us next week. We're glad that you're with us. We're glad that everybody is here. We're glad RJ is back from wherever it was that he went, and we will find that out. We weren't sure about it last week. Some of us said Auburn, some of us said Atlanta. I had
our guesses.
I even think I thought Birmingham, but we'll find out in just a bit. Keep the suspense. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. Check out ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at ingamechat. You can also find us on Facebook. Fun Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. And you can watch us. We are on the air right now on Twitch. I'm getting retweets right now from our Twitter that went out. Go to twitch.tv and you can find us there. Just search for In-Game Chat. You'll find us there. You can join in the chat room live while we broadcast and chat with us and other listeners who are currently in the room chatting about, I don't know, it's early. I don't usually do the chat room roll call so early, but we'll see. AC Wraith, Nitro Rick Allen, Medusa's Mirror is in there, Lavos is hanging out. So thank you guys. It is very, very early into the show at the moment. And Zufu is in there too, I guess. Apparently he is now shown up as well. Hello, Zufu. Anyway, welcome everybody to the show. While you're watching, we're going to go over some of the things that we have done in the past week. In fact, we will start with RJ because he was not here. RJ, where were you? Figure it out.
I went to Auburn.
It was weekend. Auburn.
Okay.
And I could have, for the record, I could have sworn you said Atlantis.
No. If I did, maybe I did.
Atlantis.
We'll find out in the replay. Anyway, yeah, I went to Atlanta for the Don't Get Wrecked tournament at I think main campus of Auburn University in the student center.
Did you get wrecked?
In one tournament, yeah, I did.
Oh.
I did, but it goes with the territory. It happens.
Go ahead.
It goes
Sorry.
with the territory. It happens. But it was mostly a tournament for Smash Brothers. There was like 4 variations of Super Smash Brothers being played there. That's why they had like over 100 people sign up for it.
Oh, wow.
That's why I took pretty much the entire day. I think the whole tournament started at 10 o'clock in the morning. We didn't get done until somewhere around 11:30 at night, and for that tournament to finish all the way out. The side tournaments they had there was for Super Street Fighter 4. There was about 18 competitors there, and then we had about almost 20 folks for the Guilty Gear XR tournament. Funny thing is, though, I had to end up running the Guilty Gear XR tournament because there was only one tournament organized in the room. Everyone else was just floating around somewhere, and matches were being delayed and stagnated because one person, he was focusing on Street Fighter teams and singles, and there was no one running the Guilty Gear. We had like 3 stations for the Guilty Gear tournament, so I had to end up taking my smartphone and getting on Challenge and running the bracket from there. So that was one singular good experience from there. Did much better in Guilty Gear XR than I did in Street Fighter, but it's just a matter of practice. That's pretty much all I had to really do there. But overall, it was a really good time. Really got to see the sights of Auburn University's main campus and the surrounding area. It was a really good time.
Wasn't the first time you've done this, right? Or
yes, it is the first time I've been to Auburn for their tournament on campus. See, it only happens like maybe twice a year, but it's not like spoken about much or advertised much. I think they just stepped up the advertising and posting about it this time around.
Which version of Smash Brothers? Is it the Wii U?
Yeah, they had the Wii U. They had So I'm not really a Smash Brothers guy, so I'm going off of memory. I'm trying to go off of memory on this one. I think it was Project M, Melee, and there was an older variation. I'm not a Brawl, I think.
Yeah, Brawl is
Brawl.
the Wii one,
okay,
and
yeah.
I know
Melee
I think
is the GameCube.
it is, but I think like the mod scene got a hold of Brawl, and like it was really easy to add on their own stuff to it. I think that's where that Project M is. It's like a mod to make Brawl more like Melee.
Yeah, speaking of mods, there was some mess up going on about someone had some customized move sets or something that they could put on there, install. I think something with a 3DS or something. I'm not sure, but someone had all these files ready to install on the system, and they got wiped the night before.
Oh wow.
So everyone was expecting one thing and got something else. Maybe they resolved it. I'm not sure because, like I said, I wasn't a Smash player, so I don't know how that turned out. I know something bad happened, but whatever it was, they went through it because the tournament went through fine, as far as I know.
Well, that's fantastic. So, have you played anything other than that?
A little bit more Mortal Kombat. I've got back into more Bloodborne. Those are pretty much the only two that I've really put a lot of time in after the tournament in Auburn.
And how far have you gotten?
Still building up a lot of blood vials. See, apparently, the blood vials are really easy to get at the beginning of the game, but it feels like they're kind of hard to come by the later you get in the game. So
can you go back to beginning areas and get more? Or
I can, but
not worth your time.
Well, it would be worth my time if I can get the vials there, but I didn't notice anything extra from the area I was in, so I'll probably have to try that a little more. Actually going back and forth between the first area I've been in, between Yarnum and where I was at before. But further along I get, I find the harder it is to come by blood vials. But I wanted to build those up for my storage before I go try to tackle the Dark Beast Parl boss. That's where I was stuck at to begin with.
All right. Well, before we get into what everybody else is doing, I had tweeted out something last night about, hey, you should really tune in. In fact, let me tell you, coming up on the show, we have got an interview with Gareth Coker. He is the composer for Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a game. This is an interesting interview because I have not played the game. I don't even own the game. I don't have the game, but I have not played it. Yet we're talking about the soundtrack that he did. I have listened to the soundtrack. It's a fantastic soundtrack, by the way. But it's interesting to, and I talk about this in the interview, it's interesting to listen to a game's music before you've even played the game or have any idea of what the game is like. It's interesting to listen to the music and what it's trying to do without having the visuals accompany to help it out.
I would think the same would go true with movies, because if you listen to music to a score for a movie, then you could almost guess, where the different, the flow of the movie would go, between the action
I suppose. I think here's the difference. You can listen to music without visuals and still get emotion from it.
Oh, definitely.
You can't watch a movie without sound and still get that same emotion. And obviously the best example would be Jaws, to go to that.
Yeah.
A shot of the ocean with no sound, nothing there.
Nah.
A shot of the ocean with that soundtrack means, okay, something's happening, even though you don't see it. There's that it builds that intensity.
Yeah.
So I think sound can actually override the visuals of whatever you're seeing, but regardless, that's a great conversation to have. But we'll talk to him coming up in our second hour. We'll have that interview. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, the big announcement, not only that, in fact, all of our music, by the way, that comes when we go into commercials and come out of commercials, all the music you hear in today's episode, except that first bit you heard when we opened the show, will come from Ori and the Blind Forest, and it's all Gareth Coker's work. Really fun guy to talk to. Anyway, so on to the big announcement is if you'll go to ingamechat.net right now. I hate to deter you or to switch you away from the stream, which whatever, you can just open up a new tab, head on over to ingamechat.net. Thank you, Nathan, for plugging that in there. And I'm actually going to have you plug another link in there if you could. Just grab it from ingamechat.net. You can see which one to go to. We have launched our Patreon page. It is now active. It is now live. And there you go. So hopefully everybody can see that. I want you to please read the post on ingamechat.net. Please read that. It's very important to us that you do read all of that there and that you understand exactly what we're doing by launching our Patreon page. So people have been asking for this, and
For quite a while.
yeah, they've been asking for some way to give back.
Yeah.
And we've just been not, and I explain all of this at our Patreon page as well. I explain all of this as to why we were kind of hesitant to do this and why it's just been one of those things. But we just really want to be completely open and honest with what we would do with the money that you decide to give to us, if you even do decide to give to it. The main thing that we want to drive home is that we're never, and I'll say this a couple of times probably, is that we will never, ever put any content behind a paywall.
Oh, no.
I don't care if you subscribe or not subscribe, you'll be getting the same thing as everybody else. The benefits of giving, of donating, of pledging, whatever the case it may be, the benefits of that would be the fact that, and we put a couple of things up there is what we will do with that money, would be equipment, that sort of stuff. But some of the things that you can get back personally is maybe we'll thank you during an episode or something like that. So you get some perks like that, and we're still working this whole thing out. It's not completely finished, but it's up there now, and you can take advantage of it if you want. I mean, if we ever come up with like t-shirt ideas or something like that, that will give people who donated $10 or $15 or something like that,
Maybe.
everybody will get it, regardless of when you did it. We'll go back, we'll do the backlog on this and make sure that everybody gets whatever they've donated for. So,
Maybe even have them come in for a taping.
well, if they're local,
Yeah. If not, then they could.
we ain't paying their way to fly in.
I'll
and
say,
put
Matt,
them
you
up
want
on
to volunteer your paycheck for that?
Yeah. No, we could do Skype conversations that we could do. There's plenty of things that we could do. None of it, though, anything that we produce will never be put behind a paywall. You will always get that regardless of it. And thank you, Medusa's Mirror, for throwing in a pledge of $5 already. You are
wow.
you are our first. So thank you very much. Again, read that at ingamechat.net. Read the whole thing at our Patreon page. Watch both of the videos so that you can get a clear understanding about what we're doing. And we appreciate everything. We just thank you so much for keeping us going for these past 9 years, even without money. So we appreciate it. Thank you. That said, let's move on. What have you been playing, Dennis?
Like I said last week, I hopped back on Final Fantasy 14. Got back on that train again.
Yeah.
Started over, working my way back to where I was. Didn't take terribly long at all. Put in about 5 or 6 hours so far, and pretty close to where I was originally. Aside from that, played some Prototype 2, which is so much better than Prototype 1. 1 has about halfway through the game, it just gets difficult to a point where it's not fun. And it kind of feels like it's not because you're unskilled, it's because, 6 rockets while I'm next to you, so you just hit stunned until you get your game over screen. But this one is a lot kinder to you in many ways. So if anybody who enjoyed Prototype 1 and kind of put it down, Prototype 2 is where you need to play.
Does it continue the story? Is there like it?
Yeah, it is an outright sequel.
Does Prototype 1 end like on a cliffhanger or something?
Not really. It does it has a justification for going to like free roam mode afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's not like a cliffhanger. Like there are like some plot threads that don't get picked up in the sequel, oddly enough. But nobody cares. The sequel's better than the first one. Don't worry about that. Just play number 2.
Just stick with 2.
Yeah. The protagonist is great. It's another one of those who says exactly what's on your mind when you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, this is crap. You'll literally say this is crap. You know, things like that. I always appreciate that.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's been about it.
I played. Well, we'll get to what I played in a minute. Matt, you?
Castlevania: Portrait of Ruin.
The
handheld
3DS
Yep.
game.
Okay, that's what I figured. I was like, it's not registering on anything. It must be a handheld game.
Yeah, I haven't played that one. I know it's a sequel to the Genesis game, Bloodlines.
Okay.
Yeah, did you ever play that one?
I think I played it in like one of the incarnations of the anthology.
Okay.
Like Dracula X. When they had that, where it had a couple of different ones in it. Because you play, I think, Richter, correct? Bloodlines.
No, Bloodlines. It's John Morris,
No, more. Okay.
who is I think it's his son is one of the characters in Portrait of Ruin.
Yes, it is. So, yeah, that was it.
That was it.
Work.
Didn't you
I've
get-
been playing at work.
Medusa's Mirror asks, Broken Age, did that because the second one or whatever came out?
The complete. I was planning on streaming that Monday, but you had
That's
the
right.
Rebels, and that
That's
was
right.
way more interesting.
Okay, yeah, and I'll get to that in a minute. Nate, what about you?
Only thing I've played is just more Grand Theft Auto, and the Hearthstone expansion. I'm busy with school finals and the NFL draft. That's all I'm focusing on. So.
Man, that video of the mods for the ragdoll physics. Or
Oh,
whatever,
yes.
God, that was hilarious.
That was great.
That was great. If you find that one, throw that in the chat room
Yeah,
so they can watch that. That
I'll
was
repost
funny.
it. Did you watch a clown one?
No.
I watched a clown one. Like he goes around. This was my audio was off because I was watching it downstairs at work.
Gotcha.
The audio was off. Something about a clown and he just goes around shooting and blowing things up.
It was just
or
more
whatever.
he was just playing with all the camera visuals of the record mode or the studio
The filters?
mode. Mm-hmm. Like having all the different angles. And so
Maybe that's not the one I saw then.
It was just really neat. But yeah, I'll post that one as well.
All right, cool. We already got what RJ had played. I played like 10 minutes worth of Killing Floor 2 just before the show. I want to go back to it. It's a horde mode type thing. I've
Yeah.
never played Killing Floor, but I had Killing Floor 2. It's in early access right now.
Mhm.
And whatever. I didn't play it nearly
Not long enough to form an opinion.
not
of it.
long enough to really even make any kind of
Is
assessment
it
of at all.
strictly multiplayer? Do you have?
Well, no, it did. There was a button for solo. I didn't click it. I stayed in multiplayer, but there was a button for the solo mode of this thing. So, whatever. I can't really make an assessment on that. I tried to play Child of Light.
Really?
Yeah,
Doesn't strike me as a game that would be in your wheelhouse.
it's UB Art,
Yeah.
and I've enjoyed Valiant Hearts, and I enjoyed what was the other one that they did?
I don't know, but this one is different from that. I mean, it's
Oh, it's totally
it's a
different.
stat-based RPG.
Yeah,
so-
I know. I was not what I was expecting.
Really?
I didn't know.
You didn't look anything up about it?
No.
Okay.
Other than what they've shown so far, nobody showed me one of the battle screens. If I had seen the battle screens, I'd have been like, oh, now I know what I'm getting into. But I never saw that. I thought it was just a platformer puzzler, but it's
Oh,
not.
No,
It is not. What sucks is that I really, really liked it, except that combat part of things I did not like.
Is there not an easy mode or anything?
There was. I played it on casual, but that still didn't help. So now I have to build potions and all this other stuff. I have to go in there and mess around with that. I don't think I'm going to do it. I really don't.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. So now, other than all of that, it has been pinball. Every day after I got the preview build for Star Wars Rebels
I like that.
on Pinball FX 2. And I played that on Monday, and we got the video up, I believe, on Tuesday. And
Yeah, that's a nice table.
it is. It's a great table. I love it to death. I've gone back and I got the leaderboard high score on that playthrough I did Monday night, and then I went back and played it either later that night or I think it was later that night. I went back and played it and I doubled my score. And I haven't been able to do that since. I haven't been able to reach what I reached that same night, but I've been playing it almost every single day. Coming home from work, popping it in, or at least turning it on, popping it in. You don't pop in anything anymore, do you?
You still at the top of the board?
No.
Oh, how long did it last? Did you?
Oh
when you
no!
got it there?
I said that in the video. The preview builds are the only time I can get top of the leaderboards because once they release it to the world, it knocks me down fast. I think last time I checked, I think I am at 10th, 9th or 10th. But the last time I checked was a couple of days ago. There's been plenty of time for people to just slaughter that score, and they have slaughtered that score. It is unreal how high those scores get. On my own friends list, I'm knocked down to number 3. So
I'll say I bet I know who's one of them. I bet Aniako's ahead of you right now.
no, he doesn't play it much on.
Oh, really?
He doesn't play it. He doesn't play much anymore that I know of, and he doesn't play it on PC. He only played it on the 360. So
Is that the only game you've ever tried to get to the top of the leaderboard on?
think.
or even thought about. Yeah,
I think.
Because I think the only game I've ever tried to get to the top of a leaderboard on was certain races in SSX.
Now, if we're talking overall leaderboards, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking friends-less leaderboards, every single one of them I try to get to the top of. If it's just me and my friends.
Yeah.
Because I would do that with Geometry Wars, and there's a couple of others like Pac-Man Championship Edition, DX or whatever. I would try and get top of the leaderboards on my friends list. I never had any aspiration to get top of the leaderboards worldwide on any of those other games. Just wasn't going to happen. But I think Burnout might have been something I would have tried to during like Crash Mode and stuff when you collect the points, but I can't think of anything else. But yeah, the Star Wars Rebels table is fantastic. If you have not watched Star Wars Rebels, hey, it's free this weekend.
Yep.
Where at?
I think it just Disney.
StarWars.com.
StarWars.com, yeah. StarWars.com. You can watch the entire season of Star Wars Rebels for free, I think all the way in through Monday.
Yep. Tomorrow, because it's Star Wars Day.
Yeah. Star Wars Day is Monday. So you can play
Monday. Oh, wow, it's not Sunday.
Yeah. So you can play it, or so you can watch it all weekend long if you want to, the entire series. Fun table. It is, again, on my video on YouTube of this, I go through and I describe all these things, but I'll kind of give you an overview here. It is, yeah. I was reading the chat room. AC Ray says, watching the drain on the final mode was heartbreaking until I realized the top score was reached anyway as compensation. Wraith, I have gone through and I have completed that final mode a couple of other times. So it's actually one of the things that is great about this table that I feel is great is because it is so easy for me to complete all the objectives. You know, I can do. There's one other table I've been able to do that with, and that was Missplosion Man. I could go through all the objectives and complete them all, and then start the whole thing all over again, the whole process all over again. This table is a cluttered table. It's a claustrophobic table. It is. There's not a lot between the flippers and where your ball starts going into ramps and lanes and things towards the higher part of the board. There's not much room for the ball to move around in the space between there, which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. That means that your ball's not going to waste a lot of time floating around in some area. Chances are, if you hit the ball, it's going into a lane, a ramp, somewhere. It's going to go somewhere and have some effect, rather than just kind of hang out in the center of the board and then fall back down and not do anything. So that's one of the benefits I think that the Rebels table gives you. Easy to complete objectives, and plenty of opportunities for multi-balls and multi-ball stack, so you can have plenty of other multi-balls going on at the same time, so then that lights up so many different jackpots. Because for each multi-ball mode, there are certain things to do to get a jackpot. And the more multi-ball modes that you activate, that means there's more jackpots for you to hit with 4 balls on the table going elsewhere. Do you have a question?
Is that the max? 4?
4 is the max for your multi-ball, yes.
Okay. So when you said multiple multi-ball modes, I'm thinking what, like 2 multi-balls at one time going on or something like that?
It varies
like
from
chaos.
table to table, but yeah, multi-ball is when you have 4 balls on the table at the same time, or more than one ball on the table at the same time. That is a multi-ball mode of some type. I should do a pinball podcast, because I can talk about this stuff forever. So yeah, that's how that works, and it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed that. I enjoyed it so much that I got tired of actually playing that, and I said, let me play some of these other tables, not tables that I have not played before. I kept those off because I like to show those off during Silver Ball Sundays and stuff like that. I like going into these tables blind, and you guys can watch that. I went back to Captain America, and I played that, and I did phenomenally well, so much better than I did when I first played it. It was amazing. I actually moved up in my leaderboards to number 2. I was at number 4, I think, and I knocked myself up to number 2. I went back to, what's the other table? World War Hulk. Played that. Knocked myself back up to number 2. Again, I was low on, I think I was even lower on that one, like 6. And I went up to number 2.
Is it the same person dominating you on both tables?
One of 2 people who will be kicked off my friends list pretty soon so I can get my throne back. No, I won't. There's somebody else added me, and I haven't added them back yet. They are pinball fans, and I'm like, I'm going to add you, and then it's going to knock me down.
I have to feel better about myself. I can't add you.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, it sucks constantly not being number one on your own leaderboards or whatever on something that you're really good at, but it also gives you something to strive for. It also gives you a goal to go after. It gives you a reason to play that table. I sat there for a long time without any kind of challenge because I was tops on on all of my tables, and it never gave me any incentive to go back to those tables. And like, what am I going to do? Just make my score higher? Just get higher in the rankings? Nobody's there to top me. Now there is plenty of people for me to challenge. So I'll add that guy back when I get home. I don't want to mess up the stream, but yeah. I want to thank Kathy for donating to our Patreon. I also want to thank Raspy Salamander, who just pledged as well. Thank you both. This is fantastic. We're very, very happy that you guys are supporting this Patreon. Again, please read the post at ingamechat.net. There are 2 paragraphs there that are very, very important for you to read. One is about how we'll never do anything that'll be locked behind a paywall whatsoever. The second one is about your feedback. We really want to know what you think. If you like it, tell us. Just send us a note, say, hey, we like this, thanks for doing it. If you like it and you've got suggestions, let us know. If you hate it, or if you've got a problem with it, or if there's something that just kind of throws you off about it, tell us. Please, let us know. We want to make sure that we're not coming across as being pushy or as being begging or that makes you feel like if you don't do it, you're going to miss out. It's not the case. You're never going to miss out on anything if you don't donate. But we do appreciate it. Some of the things that we're going to do is build another computer because I don't want to lug this monster box up here anymore. I want to build something small and something that can do exactly what we need it to do and can sit up here in the studio and I'll never have to worry about it ever again. I would like for that to happen so very badly, and that's one of the things that our Patreon will help us do. One of the other things that we'll get to whenever we get, I think it's like 200 a month, you guys can tell on there, but 200 a month, we're going to start doing some recordings of shows not here in the studio. We're going to do some Skype calls together and stuff like that, just something that can be off the regular type episode stuff. We haven't had a chance to do that in a good while, and we'll be able to do some of that with the donations. I think the donations kind of tell us that you want that, basically. If it gets up to that much, it's like, hey, yeah, you'd like to have something like that happen, so that'd be great if we can make that happen. So we do appreciate it. We're going to take our first break of the show right now. Don't forget, all the music that you hear will be from Gareth Coker from Ori and the Blind Forest, and we're going to have an interview with him coming up in just about 30 minutes or so. Anyway, stick around. When we come back, we'll have more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. Here, again, is music from Ori and the Blind Forest. This track, oddly enough, it's our first one, but it's called Approaching the End. We'll be right back in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music once again from Ori and the Blind Forest. That is called Naru, Embracing the Light. Again, the composer on that, Gareth Coker, and we have an interview with him coming up in the second hour, at the top of the second hour here, in not very long. Thanks go out to Joshua and Leonard for their donations and pledges to our Patreon campaign. We appreciate it. This is kicking off wonderfully well, and we thank you so very much for doing this. We really, really, really do appreciate it. Thank you. So, on the news, I think we should jump into what happened
right after
our show Saturday.
Yeah.
I had the post written about, you can still see the first paragraph that I wrote where on our show post that went up on Tuesday saying here's what we talked about, and it gives me a little bit of an opinion, or lets me give a little bit of an opinion on things. And it was all about the Valve Steam mod paid for thing, Skyrim relationship stuff. And by the time I finished, I wrote it at like noon, and by like 5 o'clock that afternoon,
it was gone.
It was done. It was over with. It was, completely over with. So,
don't think anybody has said exactly what it was. I mean, we all saw the criticism and the like, but whether it was that, more than likely, it was probably just not seeing a cash flow that they were expecting, and probably all the ill will for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't get what goes on in the modding scene. I'm not a part of it, so clearly something in there. Everybody was either very anti-Valve or anti-Bethesda or something, but clearly there was a loss of trust in there.
Yeah, I was. I don't know if I'm surprised about it or not. Valve's not. I don't know. Valve's not one to really.
Well, they don't cave into the internet being the internet.
Did Bethesda cave in on this?
I don't think so. I think.
Did Bethesda say, "Hey guys, let's just go ahead and cool this down"?
The only thing I've seen is they just decided to end it. There hasn't been any explanation as to why, and I doubt we ever will get one.
Yeah.
It was nope, we're just stopping this the paid workshop. So, everybody will get a refund, and everything's cool again.
Yeah. It's interesting.
But yeah, Steam and Valve usually just don't bow down to the peer pressure of the internet. So more than likely, it was probably that plus just not making enough to make it worthwhile.
If they did, we would have Half-Life 3 a long time ago.
Yeah. They would have put that out there. Episode 3 of Half-Life 2 would have been out there.
Yeah.
I mean...
How long have you been waiting for that now? Half-Life 3.
Well, see.
Has it been over a decade now?
Half-Life 2 came out in 2004. Yeah. So I would say, a decade.
Are people still wait? People still.
Yeah. Well, we had Half-Life 2. We had Half-Life 2, and then we had they were going to release 3 episodes, kind of mini campaigns, essentially.
Right.
We got 2 of those.
And then
the third one, it was just like, more Team Fortress hats.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about right.
We're going to be continuing for years to come, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody in the chat room mentioned when they're going to announce Fallout 4, it's like probably same time Half-Life 3, this rate.
In my case, Dead Space 4. I'd love to see that.
I could see Fallout 4 before Half-Life 3.
Oh yeah, easily.
Easily on that one. I mean, there's been rumors.
Well, I mean,
about
we got New Vegas. You could kind of say that's 4, but not really. More like a 3.5.
Yeah. I would think 4 will actually be, the next Fallout game will be an actual numbered.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that from Valve, we're going to get some pinball tables. You're talking about Half-Life 3, what we might be getting from Valve. Zen Studios announced their partnership with Valve this past week as well, and you'll see some tables.
That's the only announcement we've gotten though. Just Steam and.
To be honest, they really
Studios.
didn't announce much. They posted a picture, and that was it. They posted a picture without comment.
So Half-Life 3 as a pinball game.
Right.
Confirmed, or as confirmed as the internet can make it. Just by saying
some
it's
generic
confirmed.
Valve table.
No, I mean, I don't even know if they're listening. They're probably not listening. I can go ahead and tell you what the table is.
Don't do that.
Okay, fine.
Something with
It's
something with Newell on it.
you'll know something Tuesday. So Tuesday is when they'll announce the table that they're doing, but you'll know what it is. It's gonna be fun. I haven't seen it, but it's gonna be fun.
It'll
If
be
you
Half-Life 3.
If you donate $300, we may tell you. That's behind the paywall.
Yeah, we'll lock that behind the paywall. No, for those of you who may know, in fact, everybody in here knows what table it is. They didn't get any new voice work,
Okay.
That's fine.
which that probably tells you a lot, considering there aren't very many games noted for their voice work that Valve has done.
Try not to drop too many hits.
Yeah, I know.
Angers in Studios, maybe.
But it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
We like them being nice to us.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the modding thing. I wasn't necessarily surprised that they did pull it, but I thought that.
Well, it's weird that they just altogether pulled it. Not tried
it
to.
It was fast.
Yeah.
It did not take long. They didn't give
4
it.
days?
Yeah.
Total?
I mean, it was quick.
Yeah, and just. Nope. Apparently, I don't know. It's.
As quick as it came out of nowhere, it left out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it just. What data in 4 days told you this wasn't worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, like I keep saying, I don't think it was the internet pressure. I think it was just looking at the money coming in, and it was like. And probably the issue, I know, like at least one of the mods got pulled off for using content from a free mod that was on there.
Yeah.
And so it might have just been too much of a nightmare to handle that.
Now, does it sound like one of those looks good on paper type plans, but then in execution it just
I think it was
fell
just
apart?
I think it was just an experiment. It was just to see can this be a thing where modders can make money through Valve, because there are other ways. Some modders have been using PayPal. Some have been hopping on Patreon. Dwarf Fortress announced a Patreon last week, of all things. So it's not like this was the only way somebody who makes a mod would get money for it. It was just this will be a way through Valve and also working with the publisher. Yeah, a lot of people were complaining about the split of I think it was 25 to Valve, 25 to the modder, and then 50 went to Bethesda. And Bethesda came out and said, no, we set that rate. That wasn't Valve's decision. They left that up to us. So, I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions and probably will remain unanswered. Just, if you want paid mods, it's not going to be just as simple as going through Steam. There will be other things you'll have to do to get through that. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Just putting something into the chat room there to say, hey, look, it's FCC Radio. I can't put you on the air. Sorry. You've already called twice. And...
Oh, are we having somebody... Are we
yeah.
having a...
Yeah, you're having trolls.
It happens.
Yeah, let's...
So, anyway. Mod
Yay,
situation.
Internet.
I was surprised that they started with Skyrim on this. I'm surprised they didn't start on something a lot smaller, maybe.
Or maybe something that they own.
Maybe one of their own. Yeah, that would be another thing they could have tried rather than Skyrim. I know that the guy on Nexus, the guy Nexus Mods, he said this would have caused a rift in Skyrim modding no matter how it was done, as far as charging for it. So, yeah, I don't know. What else did there? You were talking about Kickstarters and stuff. The Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, that was
thing.
interesting. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, the
ukulele. That's
Sure.
what it says. It's ukulele. That's the name of the game, isn't it?
Ukulele?
Scott demonstrating his pronunciation skills once again.
Where is it? I don't know.
I
haven't
honestly
seen it.
don't know what the name of it is, but it is the Banjo and Kazooie team.
Okay.
Put out Kickstarter and was in a couple of hours it fully
40
funded?
minutes. 40 minutes. They hit
Jeez.
their peak.
Man,
Well, they're not their peak. They hit their funding at in 40 minutes in. So
it just goes to show people really want.
They love those games.
Yeah, they really want Banjo Kazooie successor.
is it there? Obviously, it's that popular.
Yeah.
It never was for me.
Well, I enjoyed I played only the first one.
It was only on N64, right?
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
never
on
had an
N64.
N64.
And then I think it got re-released on Xbox Live.
Xbox Live, yeah. Banjo and Kazooie, yeah. I forget what it was called.
Well, there was 1 and 2, and then they did a nuts and bolts one.
That's the one. That's the one I played.
When you played Banjo Kazooie, there was the vehicle building
that was the one I
nowhere
played on
in the first.
Yeah, that
two.
was the one I played on the 360, and
it was all right.
But apparently there's a lot of nostalgic love for this, and
They were fun games, and apparently there are a lot of people who have somewhat deep pockets who really enjoy them.
Lava says, I'm sorry, I have zero interest in that game. It looks like 90s crap.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where Banjo-Kazooie comes from.
But some people like those nostalgic 90s style platformers.
Like some people who like those nostalgic 80s style adventure
It
games.
would be you that would
Exactly.
say that, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Then again, I'm playing pinball, a
Yeah.
game that is,
How old?
good God, you know? Although it's come a long way. And it's
When was
digital
the
pinball.
first pinball table ever made? Do you know?
God. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. I really don't know.
I'm just curious if you knew that. If, like, like you had that
I
level
think it's
of-
like late 1800s.
Oh, wow. That long ago?
Well,
I mean, sure.
if you want to, and again, this is not for a
The first coin-operated machine was 1931.
Well, look
right.
at that.
They weren't coin operated at
Yeah.
the time. The ones that I'm talking about weren't really even. If you saw them today, they wouldn't be considered pinball machines.
Like maybe like
Billiard tables and the like.
No, they were vertical. They
like
were
a Plinko.
very much so. Yes, they were vertical, and you had a plunger on the bottom that would shoot a
Yes,
ball
it-
bearing up through the top of it, and then it would fall into different holes that were in the that were plugged in through the board.
Didn't that have like Nintendo started? Like, didn't they have their hand in that back in the 1800s?
They
I
were a
knew
card game.
They
I'm
would
not
do
sure.
cards, but I thought I read somewhere or heard somewhere that they also did, Plinko tables and stuff.
I don't think they're
I
called
could-
Plinko
I
tables.
think
I'm not
you're
exactly
thinking
sure.
pachinko machines.
Pachinko, yeah, okay.
Are you still looking that stuff up?
Yeah, it's 1830.
1830.
wow.
Yeah. So early 1800s, not late 1800s.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Outlawed because of gambling for the most part when they became they were in the early 1900s or so and mid 1900s maybe they were outlawed because it was considered a form of gambling until somebody said no, this is a game based on skill because
Not luck.
you know yeah
Yeah.
it is a skill based game, so that's how they got through that. Yeah, there used to be people going around smashing pinball machines.
You could in 1934 you could get a lot of pinball tables for 10 of them for $17 each.
Oh wow.
Nice. Guess what? You're paying $5,000 or so for if you want a table now.
Yeah.
Time to hop in
that's-
the DeLorean.
Yeah, I know.
That's
If,
the
there-
price of the ball.
if there was a DeLorean table, I would consider it.
Yeah. Did you see that R2 pinball table I sent the link to?
I did see that.
Kind of cool.
Kind of small.
Well, it's supposed to be like a coffee table, so you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it was small. But I think everything that inside was completely original, wasn't it?
I think so.
Like that wasn't some table that they repurposed into
yeah.
a different thing.
They
It was
made
like
it into-
the whole thing was
Made for that.
made for that. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yes, I would enjoy the Pacific Pinball Museum in San Francisco.
Yep.
I need to get to the Pinball Museum in Seattle. I've been to Seattle so many times and I haven't
You
been
think
to
that
that.
you would have gone?
I know. I tried to go this past time I tried to go,
Was
and
it
every
closed?
time I checked, yeah, their hours are like, we're open from 1 to 6. That's all you get. From 1 in the afternoon till 6 at night, that's the amount of time that we're open. Those particular days I was there.
I've been to places like that where they feel like they've been open, like they were only open for 15 minutes out of the day. All right.
But yeah, it's I do want to get over there, and there's a lot of pinball places I want to go to, and just to see some of the. I want to go to a pinball tournament,
Mm-hmm.
the Papa tournaments, I think is what they're called, the pinball amusement something.
Yeah,
whatever
there's
it's called.
the California Extreme was mentioned in
Mhm.
the chat room, and a convention that I know was just a couple weeks ago, ZapCon out in Arizona.
That's
Has a
right.
Huge number of pinball. and,
Did you send me that?
Yeah,
Somebody
I sent
me-
I've sent you that a couple of times.
Yeah.
because I think they just had the third one. But yeah, it's just looking at like some pictures out there. It's just like wall to wall arcade machines and pinball tables,
Mhm.
just brought into convention center.
There is
for
a guy.
everybody to play.
So the other job that I have, the job that allows us to do this here, is I work here, and I'm in this room 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on their morning show here. And we got off on the subject of my passions, which was video games and that sort of stuff, comic books, whatever. We got onto that sort of thing, and a listener called up, and his name's Ronnie. He is he has got an arcade cabinet
Oh, really?
empty that he's going to bring to me. He's like, hey, man, I will give it to you. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to pick it. He goes, I'll deliver it to you. I'll deliver it straight to your house. And he sent me some pictures of it. It's a complete arcade cabinet. It's empty. I can put in the TV, put in the speakers, put in the computer that I'll use, that I'll make, so I can run the emulators and everything else, and I'll have a nice little arcade cabinet in the house.
Does it come with like the joystick and the buttons, or you have to
it has. I'm gonna have to drill the holes for that.
Okay.
It basically all it's got right now is a rolling wheel.
Okay, like the centipede.
That's all it's got right now, but it's got enough space there that I can drill the holes for the buttons.
Keep the wheel if you want that.
Oh yeah, I'll keep it in there.
Add it. All right.
I'll definitely keep it in there. But I can install those things. We do Mortal Kombat stuff. We have Street Fighter stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll turn my house into that arcade that I always wanted to. So, I'm looking to do that. So if Ronnie's listening, thank you. Somebody else I want to thank, by the way, before we move into the second hour here, is another guy that works here. His name's Dan Goodman. And he was up here for about an hour before the show. We were looking at all the equipment, trying to figure things out to make things work better, to try and get rid of that hum that we had last time. And he has been a priceless help in trying to get all of this stuff working correctly and figuring things out. He knows all this equipment in here a lot more than I do in fixing it and making it work. And so we've got some ideas, we've got some thoughts on how to make it better. So we're going to be trying to do that. So thank you, Dan, for helping us out with that. What else was in the news as I go over it? You'd mentioned the Dwarf Fortress thing.
Silent Hill's officially canceled finally.
That is done.
They're pulling PT off the PSN network.
I think it's been pulled already.
Has it already been
29th.
pulled?
But if you've downloaded it,
you can still get
you
it.
can re-download it, yes.
Yeah.
But if you want it now,
It's too late.
you have to pay.
Oh, you have to pay?
No.
I was,
Donate to our page.
$300, yes.
I will send it to you personally.
Yeah, that's actually kind of sad because I was really looking forward to Silent Hills, being a big fan of the series, and
Yeah, I know. Because it started with Guillermo del Toro, who was working on it. Basically said, "No, we're not working on it anymore." And then Konami finally came out and said, "Nope, this is canceled. We're not. We're still going to do Silent Hill as a series, as a game, but this particular project is dead in the water." Which
That's sad.
yeah, well, everybody's been waiting for it to come ever since it was announced Kojima and Konami were having
Their
huge
issues.
amounts of friction.
Yeah, all the talk I've heard about it from Facebook and social media, man, people were really looking forward to that one. And then for it to come to the end like this, that's
Because
a lot of wasted potential there, because it could have been really big.
Yeah, because we haven't had a new Silent Hill in a while. The last one was Downpour, which I didn't play. That's the only one I haven't played. I did not hear much about it.
Yeah.
Then Homecoming, which had action elements, a lot of people played that. It was okay, but
I like the Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories so good.
I just wish it was on more than what they put it out on.
It was on the Wii and the PS2.
I had it on the Vita. No, PSP.
Yeah, it was on PSP as well.
Yeah.
I like to see that come out on the PlayStation Store for
That would be
some of the other stuff.
Yes, I would get that.
Man, Shattered Memories so good.
Was that an anthology of that series?
There was a collection of 2 and 3.
And I have that, and that's on the PS3.
Okay.
PS3 and 360, I think.
Okay.
And let's go to the phones right now. We have Chris calling in from Prattville. Hey, Chris.
What's going on, y'all?
Hey,
Not
Hey,
much.
good, man.
How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Still amazing that you can find different things at video game stores that you never knew existed. I recently went by Retro Game Planet in Prattville and discovered that they had one of the complete box sets of a mouse for Sega Genesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I looked up on the phone with everything that was compatible with it, and one of the recent purchases that I made from the same store was Shining Force CD. And I'm thinking, cool, I can use that with it now.
A mouse for your Genesis?
Genesis.
Yes, a computer mouse, three-button mouse.
That's not unheard of. There was a mouse for the SNES.
Yeah, the Mario Paint mouse.
I know. I had Mario Paint. God, what a piece of crap. That was horrible. That was a horrible buy. I wanted it just to make the music.
Yeah.
And that was just too difficult for me at the time to figure out how to make the music. And I couldn't make anything that was really worth listening to. And so basically it turned into crap for me. But I think I still have it. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a 2-button mouse. and you could use it for Mario Paint. So it's not surprising to hear that you'd have that. And I think the Dreamcast had like peripherals out the
it had
Mhm.
keyboards, mice, things like that. Yeah, for the Dreamcast. It did.
And Typing of the Dead. That's
Oh
where
yes,
it was.
that's where it was at. I mean, me and Dennis knows all about this one, man. You can literally learn how to type playing games like this, because games like that forced you to look at the screen. See, to this day, I still have to look at the keyboard when I'm typing. But games like Typing of the Dead, you literally have to look at the
you only
screen.
have enough time to type that out. You don't get a breather moment to be like,
so,
okay, where's these keys?
If you're like me and you're a look typist, you're not gonna last long in that game. But yeah, that was a good one.
Well, is that all you picked up there at Retro? I got to stop by Retro because I realized I don't have my copy of the 360 version of Burnout Revenge. I don't know why. I don't know where it's at.
Did you let someone borrow it?
I don't think I would have, and I really don't feel like I would have traded it in either.
I don't think you would have traded it in at all.
I found my copy for the original Xbox of Burnout Revenge, but I can't find my Xbox 360 copy of Burnout Revenge. I don't know where it's at. And I thought, at first I went online to see if I could buy it, and Amazon's got it for like $25. But I was like, you know what? I can just go over to Rustin's store, and I can probably pick it up there. He's probably got
And
that.
actually, I think I may have a copy of it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know I had ones for the GameCube and some of the other ones, but I think I did have the 360 version, unless there was more than one.
Well, there was an Xbox version, and then right after they released that, like a month later, the Xbox 360 came out.
And yeah, they had the Revenge.
And they
on
released the
360.
Burnout Revenge for the 360, and I don't know where mine is, but I was gonna check the Xbox download store. I was gonna check there, maybe I could download it because I've got some credit. I got an email today saying that I've got some Microsoft money that is gonna expire June 1st. Money is going to expire from my account.
I got like $2.
I had the same thing happen. I had like $30, and I spent it all last night.
Really?
Yeah.
I got $2 from my Microsoft account.
I got $350. I got $650. That's all I got.
So if I took a card and put $20 on that thing and let it stagnate for a while, they're going to tell me it's just going to expire.
If you took a card, spent $20 on, if you put money into your Microsoft account, apparently at some point it expires. I don't know. It's
That's not unlike gift cards and like they have the
Yeah,
same
they
thing.
gift
Like,
cards do expire.
It's usually like a 2-year period.
yeah, it's a good bit, but they do expire at some point.
Wow.
But yeah, I have. But this is digital funds sitting in my account that are about to expire. So, whatever. I'm gonna find some way to spend that $6.50 or whatever that I got. So, well,
I decided to get that arcade cabinet, and I bought a few of the games that came with it. And remember playing the Black Tiger role-playing adventure sort of game that came out in the arcade years and years ago.
I am not familiar with that.
No.
It's pretty fun. It's about the only one I remember that's like that from years ago, and that was in the arcade. But I happened to see that was one of the ones you could buy. I think it comes with 3 games, and that was one of them was like $4.99, and the other games are like $4 a piece.
Well, I'm probably going to stop by, and maybe I'll stop by tomorrow or on Monday, see if he's got that game in the store there and pick it up. I don't know where my copy is, but I do not mind paying for that. That's just a great game worth buying. And now that I've got my 360 in the bedroom there, I'd love to just pop that in and go back and play. I've been wanting to play some more Burnout, and since they're not making any more Burnout,
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
and I don't want to play Paradise. I want to go back to some of the others. I watched some Crash modes the other day, and I was like, I miss this. I want to go back to this.
Yeah, the Crash modes were excellent. That was the funnest driving game aspect I've ever played on, was that Crash mode stuff.
Yeah.
I think I still have it on my PSP because they had Burnout. I think it was Revenge.
Yeah,
on the
they've got.
PSP.
Well, no, it's not Revenge. It's something else. It is
Takedown?
No, it's Burnout like Legends or some. It's
Something?
It's something made
I think they had
specifically
2
for,
of them.
Yeah, Dominator and
Yes.
Legends, I think, were the, were the
Legends
2.
Dominator.
Yeah,
I
were
might
the two that they did. But
find my PSP and plug.
Chris,
that
we
in.
appreciate you calling in, man.
All right, y'all have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, Dal.
Thanks so much. All right, and I was going to say something else. Oh yes, thanks to everybody for the help with the Patreon and everything. Once again, if you head over to ingamechat.net, in fact, Nathan just posted that, so thank you very much in the chat room. Head over to ingamechat.net. There's a post there. There's also a video there that kind of explains to you what Patreon is and lets you know that, look, you're not obligated to any of these things. You can cancel at any time. You can just plug that in, do the month thing, and cancel. I think there may be a one-time donation somewhere. I think some people in the chat room were talking about just wanting to donate one time, so they're not recurring payments. I think there's something in Patreon that'll let you set that up. So it's like, I only want to do it 1 month. Don't do the non-recurring thing. That's it. Just the 1 month thing. We're not charging. Some Patreons will charge you by the content that you produce. We're not doing that. We're just doing monthly. That's it. So we appreciate everybody doing that. Watch the video on how it works. Please read over the post on ingamechat.net, and then again the post at our Patreon page. We want to be upfront and as clear as possible about this new thing that we're embarking on, and we appreciate everybody's help in this. Like I said, if you donate, we appreciate it. If you take just time to consider it and then back out of it, hey, we appreciate the consideration. And if you just do nothing, well, thank you so much for listening to the show and continuing to listen. It doesn't matter. The show is not living and dying by how much money is made from this Patreon thing. So, but we appreciate any of the effort and any of the donations. So thank you very, very much. We're going to take our break here, and then when we come back, we've got the interview with Gareth Coker. This is a pre-recorded interview, but I've set up some video here so you can actually watch some of the game being played and some of Gareth doing the compositions and stuff that he worked on for this game during the interview. So you won't just be the black screen. You won't just watch us sitting around doing nothing for the entire time. So we really appreciate that. We will be right back in just a moment with more of In-Game Chat. Here is music from Ori and the Blind Forest. This is called First Steps into Sunken Glades. We'll be right back in just a moment. Back to In-Game Chat. Music that you heard right there from Ori and the Blind Forest, as you've heard throughout the show, and we'll hear throughout the show tonight, is music from that game, composed by the guy that we're talking to right now, Mr. Gareth Coker. Is that correct?
That's correct. You got it right.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with your work with Ori and the Blind Forest. I do want to get some of your background first, but I'd really like to know, I mean, were you approached by Moon, or did you just know the guys working on Moon, or working at Moon, who were working on this, and just happened to be a composer and said, hey, I'll do this? Or how did the relationship come about?
This is one of those, it's one of those weird things. I really I answered an email out of the blue one day.
So they got in touch. They found you and got in touch with you, or
They found me on a relatively small part of the internet called ModDB, which is a part of the internet where people make modifications for PC games, and they do it in their spare time. And I had a quite active profile on there and posted some of my music on there. And the game's director, Thomas Mahler, he found me, and I got the email from him via that website. And he showed me the game in its very, very early incarnation, and I played it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And he was like, do you want to do the prototype of the game? You'll have to do the prototype for free, but if we get picked up by a publisher, then the gig is yours. So after playing the game, I played their little demo, and I was like, this could be something special. So I did 2 or 3 tracks for the prototype, and then Thomas pitched it to various publishers, and Microsoft were the ones that ended up biting the cherry, and here we are now.
Well, congratulations on that. I think it's been
Thank you.
I think it's been very well for you. I've heard nothing but fantastic reviews for Ori and the Blind Forest, and I'm not talking about professional ones. I'm just talking about on forums and stuff like that about how great the game is. The interesting part of this is that when I got the offer to interview you, I knew of the game, but I had not played the game yet. We're not one to turn down interviews with composers. We're big video game music fans on this show, so played the game or not played the game, we were still going to talk to you. But it's very interesting that I listened to this soundtrack before really knowing very much about the game. I'd seen a trailer, I think, at E3 last year, and I was familiar with the title, but was not really familiar with anything else. I have no idea about the story. I don't know anything about it, but man, there's some good stuff on this album. I could say this album, it's tracks that I downloaded, but yeah, it's really, really, it made me want to play the game. And I know this sounds like I'm just kissing your butt, but I'm really not trying to do that. It's really, really good. Fits very well, I guess, with my enjoyment of music. I understand music's very subjective, so but it really moved me, and I'm like, yeah, I really need to play this game just so I can experience whatever this particular track is doing to me right now. I need to feel what the game is trying to do as well while it's using this piece. Really, really good stuff. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate you saying that. And all I'll say is if you were moved by the music independent of the game, then it is something else when combined with the visuals and storytelling that we have in place. So it's always nice to hear that things work away from the game, because that's like the ultimate goal as a composer. It's like, yes, ultimately you want to serve the images that you're writing for, but you're really onto something is when people say, oh, I really enjoyed the music and I haven't played the game, and I'm like, well, that's really awesome if you're feeling that way. So I really appreciate that.
It's really rare. I mean, normally for video games like this, I experience the video game with the music combined, and then I'll come away saying, I need to pick up that soundtrack. I really enjoyed that music. It's never really the reverse. And really it is with all forms of I suppose music used with film scores and stuff like that. It's rare that you hear the film score first before seeing any of the pictures, although I know usually soundtracks are released like a week before the film releases or something like that, so you kind of get an idea, but it's rare that I ever do that. It's rare that I ever listen to the music that is not by itself without having seen what it is supposed to be accompanying. And so this was an interesting kind of experiment to go through. I was a little worried because obviously I hadn't played the game, and I thought, well, am I going to be able to talk to this? And then I listened to the music, and I thought, yeah, I can easily talk to this guy because this is really good stuff. And then I went to your website, which go ahead and give out your website for people. Is it Gareth-Coker.net?
Yes, you got it, Gareth-Coker.net.
Yeah.
It should be the first result in Google if you just Google him.
Yeah, you just Google him. There's a link on there called Music Reel. Brings up a SoundCloud, basically a SoundCloud little widget or whatever, and you can listen to not only Gareth's work from Ori, but also plenty of other pieces that he's done from other mediums. I think there was it a movie I think that was on there, or a TV show or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's a couple of tracks from a film on there, and there'll probably be a bunch of tracks from various trailers and advertising things I've done as well. So
There was a great one that I was listening to last night while I was writing about our Patreon campaign, which is really important to us. We just kicked it off tonight, and I tweeted about it. I was like, I'm writing something really important while listening to this really intense track from, and I linked you on the tweet.
yeah.
And it wasn't from a video game. It was from Ascension, I believe.
Oh, it was, yeah. That's actually a track that got submitted to a music library, and it's been placed in I think it got placed in a EVE Online trailer, but I can't remember for sure. But yeah, that one was a fun one to do. I can't even remember when I wrote that. I think it's like 2.5 years old.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right about that Eve thing. It comes because for whatever reason that last minute or minute and a half, was very, like, it was huge. It was emanating this huge, powerful thing going on, and I guess I didn't realize it at the time. But when you mention it now, I'm like, you know what? That does sort of ring a bell.
Yeah.
You might be exactly right on that. Back to Ori though.
Yes.
And back to just to video game compositions in general. We've talked to a few, and I think everybody has their own way. But how does that whole process go about? Apparently you were given a demo or a some kind of alpha build or something, and said, "Hey, make some music for this." What you submitted, did that carry over into the main game, or? I mean, how does it work? Music, it's kind of chicken and the egg type thing.
Okay, well, yeah. Here's Moon Studios' situation is very unique, and first to address one thing, like none of the music in the prototype ended up in the final game, which tells you how much the game has changed since that initial prototype. So about Moon Studios, it doesn't have a central office location. All of the developers are individuals from around the world. So the director, Thomas, he's in Austria. The art team is in Germany. The animator is in England. The programmers are in Israel and Australia. Sound team is in Atlanta. Music is here in Los Angeles, and so on. So that has its own challenges, but it also has its own strengths. One of the strengths was that someone would be working on the game at all times. One of the challenges was we're all in different time zones, so coordinating meetings, usually someone was getting up in the middle of the night. Usually our programmer in Australia, because he was a night owl anyway. Mm-hmm. But as far as developing music for the game, I've been involved since the very beginning, and that's unusual for a composer. Most composers are brought into films and games fairly near the end of production when things are quite established. But with Ori, I was given access to the game from the very beginning, and I think that really helped me get very finely attuned to what the game needed. So, for example, 3 years ago, there was a version of the game, a very early build, no artwork whatsoever. So Ori was a little rectangle. The enemies are like little circles shooting out other little circles, which are the projectiles that attack Ori. The levels are all made up of just geometries. There's no actual forest, but I could still play the game fully. Like all of the mechanics were there, all of the jumping mechanics, all of the attack mechanics, and having access to it that early meant I got a feel for how Ori moved. And that might not seem important at first when considering the music. But actually, in a game where movement is the central mechanic, you need to match that with the music. So how Ori moves sort of defines the tempo and pacing of the music. Another example of why it was advantageous to get the early build was with regards to sound effects. We discovered very early on that the sound effects were going to be quite punchy and strong. And in terms of the music, we decided not to have lots of heavy percussion in the score because it would clash with the sound effects. So in a sense, the sound effects act as the percussion section of the music. And when we started getting everything mixed together, the music and sound, we were like, oh, this blends really nicely. Now, we would have found that out anyway nearer the end of development, but finding it out early meant I could focus on writing music that didn't have percussion as opposed to the end where it's like I want to write percussion, and then you find out, oh, it doesn't work. You just got less time to fix things. So being on from an early stage meant that it gave me more time to experiment and throw things out and bring things back in. Now, I wasn't working on the game full time for 4 years, but I would say my workload increased towards the end of production. But the last year, all of those problems and kinks had kind of been worked out. So when it came to just writing new content for all of the different areas in the game, it was actually a fairly straightforward process. So I hope that illustrates it a little bit for you. It's quite unique. Most composers just don't come in until quite near the end, but this one I was able to come in from the beginning. I think that's one of the reasons why the music fits the game quite closely.
Well, you've had experience composing for other games, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And I mean, this process was obviously different than your previous?
Yeah, I mean, usually the game is a lot more established than what I had with Ori, but I think, I mean, the other games I've worked on have been like multiplayer experiences. So it's less about the narrative and more about just creating an exciting track to match the experience on screen. Whereas with Ori, the narrative, like, you need to constantly test the music against the narrative because it's about Ori's journey. And there's just a lot more trial and error. It's just like when you would do a film, when a composer does a film, you have to watch the film from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like watch it scene by scene.
Probably a few times, I would think.
Right. Oh, yes, more than a few times. And if you watch things scene by scene, you're not getting a feel for how things flow from one scene to the next. You're just looking at it in a box. And you have to do that with games as well, especially games with a strong narrative. You can't just play it level by level and be like, oh, that works great. You need to look at it in the context of everything. The problem with games is that they often take a lot longer to finish than films. Ori takes between 8 and 11 hours on the first playthrough, whereas most films are 2 hours. So it takes more time to test the big picture, but again, that's another reason why it was great to be brought on early, because it just meant I could test the game myself relentlessly. As a result, I'm also really good at the game. For me, it was just really important to, if I'm writing music, I need to test it and then see how it looks in context of the big picture and what we're trying to achieve in terms of our storytelling.
Did they have to, or I say they, the folks at Moon,
Yep.
Did they need to like listen and approve every single track that you did, or was it a sense of, we trust you with this, just give us what you got type of situation? I mean, what kind of freedom did you have in that regard?
I would say I had a really great amount of freedom. I mean, they gave me a few guide tracks, but ultimately it was like, do whatever you want so long as we like it. What I do, I would never submit anything that wasn't working for me. So, and they didn't really give me any hard deadlines. Just sometimes they would say, "Hey, Gareth, do you have any new music for us?" And either I'd try and delay and hold them off, or I'd be like, "Yes." But our system meant that our programmers made it very easy for me to upload new music and get it working in the game. It was literally a drag and drop operation. And it's not always that easy. So I could write my music and I could get it in the game and test it myself and see if it felt good. And if I didn't feel it felt good, I wouldn't upload it for the rest of the team to hear. And then eventually when I was happy with something, I'd upload it, and then the rest of the team would download it from the online server. And generally, I found with Moon that if nothing was said, that was a good sign. So it wasn't really that things were getting approved on like a checklist. It was more like if there were any issues coming up, then they would get back to me. But fortunately, we didn't run into too many problems. And again, I think that's just because because everyone on the team had been involved in the project for quite a long time. There was a real synergy amongst all the team members. We all kind of knew what the end goal was.
How did the theme, the overall that main theme that I can, again, having not played the game, I could hear the recurring themes, and
Yeah.
by that I don't mean like you know what I mean, musical themes, like the musical
Yes.
cues and that sort of stuff. I
Yes.
could hear those recurring every now and again. How did that general theme, and we played it on the show, but where did that come from? How did that hit you? When did you discover that?
So yeah, the story of how the theme came about is quite funny because I didn't even realize the theme at the time would turn into what it has become. So Thomas, the director, he was quite adamant that he wanted Ori to have a strong melody, which is nice because melody. There's not so many melodies in film and game scoring these days. There's still quite a few, but it's not as prevalent as it was in the 70s. So there's a lot of pressure, and I had this gigantic sketch folder, and I put the music onto our Dropbox, and there's sketch 1, sketch 2, 3, 4, 5, and eventually one of our programmers, I think, contacted me and said, yeah, I really like sketch 5. I think this is a pretty good melody. And I just didn't realize it at the time because I was just churning out different sketches and not really thinking about what I was writing. I was just trying to get a lot of ideas out, just kind of like brainstorming, really. But often, I mean, there's so much content in this game. You often forget about some of the stuff that you've brainstormed, and it's relegated to a lost folder. Anyway, our programmer found it and said, yeah, sketch 5 is pretty good. And I listened to it again. I was like, okay, I'm gonna develop this, and I ended up developing it and writing it, fleshing out the idea, orchestrating it. I was like, okay, this could be pretty good. I mean, as for where it came from, I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, I really just I look at Ori's story and I try and play the music from Ori's point of view. So I try and get into the character's head. As for where the actual notes come from, I couldn't tell you. I can just tell you that that's what happened when my fingers touched the keys.
Yeah. No, I think it's fascinating. I think it's. I'm always curious how people come up with these melodies and these themes that they use in film composers and game composers, where those things struck them, because sometimes they are the ones that stick with you, man. It's those that are just like, where did that come from? It sounds so simple.
That's the thing. I think one of the things I feel like artists, well, I certainly feel myself like I'm trying to recreate, is that feeling of when I was a child. Because when you're a child, you're not thinking about when you're creating something, or when you're playing music or improvising, you're not thinking so much. You're just playing with reckless abandon. And I think the best things are often created when you don't think so hard. I feel like there's pieces of music that I've written that I've thought so hard, and I think, oh, this is a really great composition, and oh, look at all the technical stuff that's in there, and I've spent hours and hours on it, and then the thing that I spend 10 minutes on is the one that everyone loves. It's funny how that works. It's just often when you take away all the education and all the thought process and just play with reckless abandon, that's often when the best stuff is created. The problem is, when you're playing with reckless abandon, you often forget to press record. So that's been a habit I've started to get into. If I get on a improvisational roll, I generally compose by improvisation. I just play until something comes. I'm quite a capable piano player, so I enjoy playing the piano, and it's quite a good stress reliever for me. So I generally just try and record everything, and often in there, there's usually a few golden nuggets. It's just up to me to find them in the first place. It's a very different process for every single composer, though. There's
a long time quote in I don't know if it's composing or if it's just in music in general, 3 chords and the truth, where it's just, keep it simple.
Yep.
Or just the most simplest things usually work. But yeah, you were talking about childhood. Let's go into your history a little bit, not necessarily into your childhood, but let's start at the beginning of how did you get into composing music? What drew you into that field?
Well, I didn't really start composing until quite late on. I mean, most people know, most people who go to music school, I went to music school, they kind of know they want to write music, 13, 14. I really applied to music school just because my teacher told me to, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, if I get in, that'll be great, and if not, well, clearly I wasn't destined to have music as a career anyway. So it was kind of a like, why not application. So I applied to the Royal Academy of Music, which is a really good music school in London, and
anything that says Royal Academy always sounds, like wow, okay, yeah, it's a big deal.
It sounds better than it is, but it's still
No,
it's
not to
still,
diminish you, man, but anytime I hear that, the Royal Academy of, and then add anything, the Royal Academy of Car Mechanics, that's like, okay, you're top of your class, man.
So yeah, I applied, and somehow they accepted me. I mean, I had no experience writing for orchestra. I mean, my entire portfolio was pretty much piano music, but I guess they heard something. I actually do remember in the interview they said you can write a tune, and that's not something that comes easily to a lot of people. It's for some reason I've not had a problem writing tunes, and I think that's why they accepted me. So then I'm like, okay, well, I got in, so looks like I could make composing a career. So I did 4 years there. Then I graduated the academy, and I found like I had all of this technical knowledge and a really high level music education, and I really had no business or interpersonal skills whatsoever. So I didn't really know at that time how I was going to get my career up and running. So then I looked into what does a film composer need to do, and the general consensus was that coming to LA was a good idea. So the long-term goal was to apply to the University of Southern California, which has a really good film scoring program. But I also wanted to do some traveling as well. So and actually kind of get away from music a little bit, because it'd been pretty much all music for 4 years, and I think I kind of wanted to live a little, Mm-hmm. So I went and taught English in Japan for 3 years, and as a result, I not only got to travel around Japan, I also got to see quite a bit of Asia that I probably wouldn't have gotten to have seen so easily, because Japan is in proximity to like all of the other Asian countries. Britain isn't, and America isn't. And my position in Japan, I was an assistant language teacher, which was pretty much the lowest position I could have possibly had. And Japan society, it's all about the group, and your role is to enhance the group. So you've got to remove all ego. And if there's one thing that going to music school doesn't help you with, it's having an ego. And also throughout school and throughout your childhood, if you're doing music, you have people telling you how wonderful you are. And in Japan, it's not that they didn't care, but they didn't care at work. Mm-hmm. So it got me used to working with other people with a language barrier, interacting with other people as well, because my role as a teacher, I was teaching 40 students per class. And it was a speaking and listening class. So I really enhanced my communication skills very, very quickly there. And communication in making film and game is probably the most important thing. You really need to understand what the people you're working for want. And then when you hire an orchestra, you need to be able to communicate that to them very succinctly as well. So on the surface, it might not seem like going to Japan has many parallels with working in music, but there are so many other skills I picked up in my 3 years in Japan that I'm still using to this day in my daily work. I think I would be a much worse composer, not technically, but in terms of how I deal with people, if I hadn't gone to Japan. So after 3 years in Japan, I applied to USC. I got into the film music program, and I've pretty much been working ever since I graduated, because USC also has a great film school, and I met a lot of directors and editors there who I've had the pleasure of working with since.
Well, speaking of that, then, what are your influences? What are your where do you draw from?
Oh my goodness, this is always a tough one, because I know most people will expect me to like reel off a bunch of soundtracks, but right. I try during the writing process for a game or film or whatever. I try to avoid listening to soundtracks, because soundtracks they're often inspired by what the director had as a temp piece of music before the composer gets brought on. So I try I try and listen to. I try and listen to pop music, although I don't really like most pop music at the moment. But I listen to a lot of electronica, and I listen to a lot of world music. And I find that the world music in particular, it's coming from such a different place. I'll usually hear something in a track that was written in Nepal or Africa or somewhere other than America or the UK, and I'd be like, I wonder how that would work in a more traditional soundtrack setting. There's always like a cool instrument or a cool texture, and whereas soundtracks, it's a little bit more defined. There's obviously experimental soundtracks out there, but they're a little bit harder to find. It's much easier to find experimental music if you just simply type in music from South Africa. You're probably going to hear something that you haven't heard before. So I'm looking for things that I haven't heard before. However, I'm not going to totally cop out of the answer. I will reel off some of my favorite composers. So the first piece of sheet music I brought was the feather theme from Alan Silvestri's Forrest Gump score. Yeah. It's one of my favorite.
It's all piano, right?
Yep, it's all piano, and it's just a really good melody. And yeah, that score is one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of Tom Newman. Thomas Newman, right? American Beauty,
yeah,
Shawshank
American
Redemption,
Beauty, Finding Nemo, and
Finding Nemo, Wall-E. He's
the other one he did that I'm in love with is Road to Perdition.
Yes, great soundtrack.
Yes.
He just has a fantastic sound, and he's one of those composers who's good at blending those esoteric instruments from around the world in a conventional Western soundtrack setting. The other composer who's really good at that is Michael Danner, who's not such a household name, but he did the music for Life of Pi, which certainly is a well-known film. And see, Life of Pi has this Indian overtone throughout the film, but when I listen to the soundtrack, I never really feel like I'm listening to Indian music. It's aspects of Indian music that have been combined with the Western orchestral sound, and it's fused together in a way that is very unique. And it's that kind of thing that I wanted to try and do with Ori. I wanted to give the soundtrack, music that sounded like it was from a different culture, but what tied it all together was the orchestra and the piano and the vocals in the game. But every so often you have these instruments and you're like, what is that? I've not heard that before, or I might have heard it but not in this context. That's the kind of thing that really excites me. I'm not purely writing for orchestra. It's for me it's about combining the orchestra with other things, and I don't know what those other things are, and that's part of the fun.
Well, I'm going to let you go here in just a bit, but not without putting you on the spot real quick and asking you, what are your favorite video game soundtracks? Name two. Okay, so first one's easy. One of my favorite soundtracks of all time is for Dead Space, which I know might seem unlikely, but that game is a horror experience. The first 4 hours in particular, it's just so scary, and the music is so incredibly interactive. It just feels like this creepy orchestra is stalking you in the hallways of that spaceship. It's so chilling. They did an amazing thing with sound in that game overall, just in general.
Yeah, it's the sound and music just come together in that game in a superb way. The other score that I've really liked of recent years, and it's for a game that not so many people have played, it's called Remember Me, which is, I think it's a criminally underrated game, and for some reason the review scores didn't. For me, it was like a 9 out of 10 game, but unfortunately, it's averaging a 7 on Metacritic. I have no idea why that is. But hey, we all have our personal tastes, right?
Yeah,
but the soundtrack for that game by Olivier de Rivière, he recorded with a big orchestra, but then he did these weird glitch effects on the orchestra. So there's this electronic element. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. I would strongly encourage listeners to check out the Remember Me soundtrack. It is just brilliant. I think you're going to be hearing a lot of Olivier's work in the future. He has worked on Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, but I think he's going to become one of the next big game composers that people will enjoy talking about. So that's 2 for you.
Well, Gareth, thank you so much for being on the show, giving us your time, and it has been wonderful to talk to you, and it's been wonderful to listen to your work. So, is there anything coming up that you're working on?
There is, but I can't announce it just yet. I think they're announcing it in June, and all I can say is it's like the total opposite of Ori. It is the zaniest thing I've ever done.
Is it with Moon or is it with some other company?
It's with another company. It's a very small independent company, but the game, it's absolutely nuts.
How are we going to know? Because whenever they reveal these things, they don't tell us who's doing the soundtrack.
Twitter, and the soundtrack reveal will be the same
Okay.
day. So yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a very small little thing for PC only, but it's very fun and it's very silly, and it's kind of been a nice change of pace compared with Ori, which is a little bit heavier in terms of the emotional content. This one's been very silly, but it's very upbeat and over the top soundtrack. So it's hopefully people will see another side of me.
Well, hopefully we'll have you back on for that soundtrack as well, and we can talk about the differences, I suppose, in doing this and doing that one. So, but once again, thanks so much for being on the show, and thanks so much for your time. Really great to talk to you, and really great to hear your work. We appreciate it very much. So, thanks again.
Thank you. You're most welcome, and it's been wonderful talking to you.
All right, that's Gareth Coker. He is the composer for Ori and the Blind Forest, which is out now on Xbox One and PC through Steam. You can go out there and pick it up, and the soundtrack is also available as well if you like that also. We'll be right back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. That is music, of course, from Ori and the Blind Forest. All the music that you've heard tonight is from Ori and the Blind Forest. This one's called The Sacrifice. Very good music. And a very good soundtrack. And apparently a very good game. I have not played the game. Has anybody here?
No, not
okay.
yet.
Nobody's played it. All right. Nobody's played the game, but yeah, man, listening to the music, and then of course after talking to him, I really also I had to put together the video that played during all that, so I got to see this game a ton. But still, without knowing any kind of, I have no idea what it's about. I have no idea what any of that stuff is about, and I don't know the story, so I can kind of put pieces of it together from what I had to make with that video. But the two things I took away from it is that it's pretty, it's got a great score, and it's it's platformy, which is good. None of this turn-based fighting stuff like Child of Light, and. Yeah, I know. It was very much a for me. And I know it's not for everybody. And the other thing,
I know.
yeah,
It's
the other thing was that it's very emotional. So, go ahead. You were saying.
It's just, if you watch one video for Child Light, you know what it is right away.
Except the video, I guess I never watched enough of one video.
I guess.
Because it didn't show me any of these aspects. It just showcased the art. And I don't remember seeing any of the turn-based part of the combat coming into it. I'm not saying I'm done with it. I can
agree. I can agree with you. I never knew it was turn-based. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen tons of videos for it, but not like.
I just went into it
so.
obviously thinking it was one thing, and it was something completely different.
It's like one of those cases where the you think Dead Island is going to be that cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, did you?
What?
You said you didn't look up gameplay. You looked up art. I mean,
No, I'm saying the
Yep.
trailers that I watched showcase the art of it. It showed gameplay, and there is platformy type gameplay in most of it, but the combat is all turn-based, and none of the videos I saw ever showed that off, or at least I didn't watch enough of those videos to see that far into the
Yeah,
thing.
I think I looked at it on PSN, the preview for Child of Light, and like I said, it showed the artwork, showed how it looked, the aesthetics of it, and it showed some puzzle elements and art, but I didn't see any your turn, my turn, wait my turn while you beat the blank out of me portion. I didn't see that.
They lie.
No, I'm not saying they lie.
Just by omission.
That's a shame that they lied about that.
But that's not a bad thing. People might like that. I don't, or at least
I don't. I can't.
My problem with that is that I went in expecting something completely different. They threw this at me, and I was like, wasn't ready for this. I don't like this.
It was kind of like a Metal Gear Solid when the demo came out and you played as Snake, and then the full version came out and you're playing with Raiden, that type of thing.
It's like if I went into Pillars of Eternity thinking it was something
that wasn't Pillars of Eternity.
Right. If I didn't have that heads up, that whole situation of like, here's what you're getting into with Pillars, okay? It's going to do all this. Then I would have jumped in there and I probably would have come away saying, I don't like this, I don't play the game. So I'll give Child of Light a chance when I'm in the mood to give it a chance, but at that point I was like, no, I don't want this. I wanted platformy puzzle, and I didn't get that.
No, yeah, you definitely aren't getting that.
I wanted something really, really good as far as story and looked really. I wanted Ori basically, and I was like, I don't have Ori, so let me find the next best thing. And I was like, well, Child of Light, so I'll try that, and that's not what I got. So that's just me, though. You might like that stuff, so don't let me deter you from trying any of that. It also involved Uplay, and I hate Uplay.
Nobody likes you.
Oh my God, Uplay is so bad, so very bad.
Someone suggests Shovel Knight for you, Scott.
I know, Shovel Knight. I should seriously play that, and I probably will. Did that ever hit PS Plus, Shovel Knight, or I'm thinking it didn't. By the look of Nathan's face, I'm guessing it didn't.
I don't think it has.
I don't think it has either. I think it's a little too
Plus.
soon. It's like Mega Man and DuckTales had a baby. So that's what Gershnork. Let's do a chat room roll call since it's been a while. We've got some people in there. Uncle Elias is hanging out. The Wasman returns. Tactus 59, STM Fuller, Rena Hamster, Raspy Salamander, all my favorite people. Nitro Rick Allen, that's a great name too. Leopold Kane hanging out there. Jerkface Killa, that's good. Snort, one of my original favorites. Love that name, Snort. AC Wraith, Medusa's Mirror, Lavos, all hanging out in the chat room. Thank you guys for hanging out. Don't forget, our Patreon page is up now. We have activated the Patreon. Head over to ingamechat.net. Read all about it over there so that you're completely clear on, number one, what a Patreon is. And number two, all the things of like, hey, we just want to be upfront and open as possible about this. We have always been adverse to like asking for money. We always thought that threw a wrench into things that we weren't ready to deal with.
Well, less the asking, just more the money.
Right.
It's just money always makes things weird.
Yeah. And so we've just been weird about it. But we've had a lot of you ask us for ways that you could donate or ways that you can give back to us. And so we did this. And we think this was the way to go. And we hope that it works for us. And we hope that, you approve of that. And if you don't, or if you do, we want to hear from you. Not necessarily in donations. If you want to donate, that's fine. But if you like it, email us. Tell us about it. If you don't like it, email us. Tell us about it. We want to hear your opinion on the matter. It is extremely important for us that we do right by you, our listeners. So thank you for that. Moving on. What is coming up? Anything coming out? Oh, Invisible Ink comes out next week. Okay, here's an interesting thing. Invisible Ink. I just sat here and talked about turn-based combat, right? Here's turn-based stealth.
So as long as if it's stealth, it's okay. If it's pretty, no way.
It's not that. It is if I knew what it was going into it. That's all. I just need to know what it is when I go into it. And so Invisible Ink is turn-based stealth, and it comes out next week. It is from no, it does not. I'm sorry.
It doesn't come out till the 12th.
Right. The interview I have, I'm playing it next week, and the interview I have is next week. Sorry, it comes out on the 12th. Stupid me getting my dates mixed up. We're going to talk
for everybody else.
Yeah, we're talking with James Lance on Tuesday of next week. We'll have that interview for Saturday. I'll also get a copy of the game then as well, and we're going to I'll do some streams of it, and you'll see how horrible I am at stuff like this. But yeah, that's happening next week for me, and then the week after next it'll happen for you. I don't know what's coming out next week. I really don't think there's anything big until we hit Witcher 3 probably.
The only thing notable is Wolfenstein.
Yeah, well, the Wolfenstein DLC.
That is big, because that was really, really good, that first game. New Order. That was fantastic.
The Old
Yes,
Blood.
it was.
Yeah, so Old Blood comes out this week. That'll be great. Anybody already picked that up?
Haven't picked it up yet.
It's standalone, right?
I think it is.
It's standalone.
Yeah.
Just need it.
Hopefully James gets it so I can play it off of his account. Although it doesn't matter, standalone, so it doesn't matter if I have the original game or not. So that'll be fantastic. Is anybody else looking forward to anything?
Oh, actually, RJ, I saw Five Nights at Freddy's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, for release on
Halloween, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, this
Is that-
this
Have you
game's come
played
out quick.
Yeah, no, it's because
Haven't touched 3 yet. I've seen Let's Plays of it, but 1 and 2 I've dabbled a little bit in that, but not too much. But 3 I
came
haven't
out in
haven't played
February,
it.
I think, this year.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
it doesn't take him long.
If it's selling and he's can crank them out like that and still
Can't blame him.
get them,
Can't blame him. If you can
more
get
power to
notoriety, more cash flow from it. Have at it.
Yeah.
And this
Do
is
your
supposed to
thing,
be the
man.
final one?
It's called
So was
it's called like
3.
the final chapter. He's calling it the final chapter, but who knows where he gets the demand from? But he gets his info for his demand. But hey, like we said, if he's getting money and notoriety from it, have at it, young man. Do it.
He says it's going to be the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing says, I think the picture I saw said
We don't think so.
The final chapter.
Yeah,
It'll be
it
the
says
last
final
one
chapter.
until
It'll be the last one until
6 months later.
5 enters development.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's his own guy, so maybe
Yeah, it's up to him. I mean, it very well might be.
It's totally up to him until a company comes in and says, "We want to buy the rights. Here's a bunch of money." And
I think
he says,
he's
"You know what?"
he said he's already signed for a movie deal. I think
That's true. He did.
Yeah.
so. It
Okay.
wouldn't surprise me to see something.
So fine. Five Nights at Freddy 4 is the last one until Five Nights at Freddy's the movie releases, and he does
The movie version.
the video game,
the movie, the video game,
something like that. That'll go with it. So
it's fine. It's fine. The dude's making money hand over fist, and good for him. Glad somebody is.
looks like we're getting another remaster, Gears of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the next Xbox One remaster.
Yeah.
Halo didn't work out too well for them.
Yeah, Halo still isn't working too well.
They're still working on that.
Yeah, Master Chief Collection had a thing where official tournament couldn't
Yeah,
not
the
run.
tournament couldn't run because
connectivity issues are still going on.
that's slightly embarrassing.
Very embarrassing. I mean,
It's their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't get that right.
I never played Gears of War. Anybody got any feels about that one?
I didn't. It didn't sink its teeth in me. I tried it.
Never
a couple
really got
times.
into it.
I just didn't care about it.
I've played all three. Or there's only 3 of them. How many were
There was 4.
There's 4. Okay, I played
But there was
3.
originally there was like 3, and then there was Gears of War, some subtitle.
Okay.
Judgment?
I played the first 3.
Gears of War Judgment. That sounds about right. I played 1 and 2, and I never got around to playing 3. Basically because it turned into what Halo 4 turned into for me. Was like, hey, I want to play it co-op. I'll wait for everybody to do it, and then it never happened, and it just
I played them all solo.
solo.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is John DiMaggio was the lead, and that's about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I remember a lot of things about it. I remember not being too thrilled about the whole thing.
Mm.
Gears of War 1 was fantastic, but then afterwards it just became...
Chore.
It turned into Dude Bro.
Yeah.
Dude Bro shooting.
Yeah.
And big dudes with tiny heads and...
Thick neck.
Yeah.
Thick neck dude, bro.
Now, I will say real quick, this is somewhat surprising. I'm reluctantly but slightly interested in the new Call of Duty.
Okay.
And I've not been interested in any of them, but this one is
Like
slightly.
we said, he's adopted.
I said
I
slightly,
I
and only for
Co-op.
Well, that aspect, yes. But
That you
the
know,
zombies
turned a
as
light
well.
on for me. It was like, hey, you
Just
can
because-
co-op the entire campaign, even though I'm not really
Four-player.
big on that. Yeah.
Full-player co-op.
I'm like,
And
okay.
that's interesting.
I saw some people talking about it. It's like it's almost some of the videos are supposed to be like almost Bioshock in like the powers you get,
Oh, for the zombie?
or something like somebody said like they just saw a dude just essentially use insect swarm.
Yeah,
In one
that's
of
for
the
the
videos.
zombie.
Okay.
That's for That's why I'm interested, just because they put more effort into zombies. So I'm somewhat
Mhm.
interested. But like I said, slightly.
Well, zombies, from my understanding, is like one of the big selling points
Mhm.
of COD, blops or otherwise.
So
I think they should do like how Sniper Elite did with the zombies. It's its own thing. You know, the because snipers, they have the Nazi sniper or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they should do that. Just have a standalone, COD zombie game.
I mean, it's pretty much standalone. But
Yeah.
okay.
We gotta go. That is it. Thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream, even on the radio. As well, thanks to everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. Thank you for all the phone calls. Sorry we didn't get to you there, who's on the phone right now, but call back next week and we might. We really appreciate everything. Go to ingamechat.net and you can join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel and the Patreon. I'll throw that out there again. Check it out. We appreciate all the donations and all the support. If you're on Steam, join our Steam group. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you next Saturday. This track is called Light of Nibel. It's from Ori and the Blind Forest. Have a great one.